Welcome back into the Sports Source. This segment of our program brought to you by Calhoun's. Folks, next Sunday is Mother's Day, and that means it's time to take Mom out to eat, whether it's a Saturday night dinner or Mother's Day lunch. Calhoun's 9 area locations. One of them is going to make the perfect spot to say thanks to your mother. Mother's Day next Sunday. Think of Calhoun's when you're looking for a place to take her out to eat. All right. Every year, people discuss the accuracy of recruiting rankings. This year, some folks took the results of the recruiting rankings of 24/7 Sports from the people who were drafted to go back and look at all the people who were drafted and compare 24/7's recruiting rankings, and those guys were in high school, to the draft results. Let me put up a graphic right here. All right. Now, this is for the first round only. First round. This year, and it was hard to come up with a way to write this. There were 10 5-stars drafted in the first round, 12 4-stars in the first round. Only 6 3-stars, 2 2-stars made it, and 2 guys who weren't ranked made it. But if you look at that, 22 of the 32 first-round picks were graded as 4s and 5s. Any reaction about what you'd expect? Thoughts?
I think what that shows you is that you can identify really, really, really superior athletes going in. Now, then you come back to the total number of 4s and 5s that were in that class.
Right. And to me, that's what makes that more impressive, is you've got, and we'll get to that in the next slide, you've got a lot more 3s out there than you do 4s and 5s. So for them to get it right, that 22 out of 32 were 4s and 5s, and there are many fewer 4 and 5s than there are 3s and 2s, that's pretty impressive to me. Thoughts?
Yeah, that's the first thing that stands out, is that's more 4 and 5-star players than I would have expected because of just the percentages, the amount of 3-stars or fewer that are out there. Also, I think evaluations of recruits are improving because these guys are seen more often. They're at camps more often. You have more services out there that are evaluating, but you have more hands-on evaluations now in recruiting.
Okay, before I get to the two of you guys, let me show up the next graphic, and I'll let you guys go. Star ratings versus the NFL draft. This again 24/7, but this is overall, the whole draft. There were 23 5-stars. See, it's a bell curve. 76 4-stars, 93 stars, 26 2-stars, 38 guys that weren't ranked. Again, though, 99 of the 253 picks were 4s and 5s. 40% of the draft were 4s and 5-stars guys, even though, look at the bottom, in terms of that year, there were 32 5-stars handed out, 300 4-stars, and more than 3,000 players were graded at 3-star or below. So you should have, if it were just straight percentages, a lot more 3s. But they're pretty darn solid with those 4s and 5s that they handed out, because 40% of your draft came from that pool. Mike and Mike, your thoughts on that?
I'm going to go, you're right, all this is right. I'm just going to point out that there were 64 guys that were either 2-star or not ranked. That's a significant number. That if somebody's a 2-star not ranked, I think for whatever reason the rankings missed out on them, misjudged them. So I think that's a significant number, and gives hope keeps hope alive for all those guys.
Yeah, I mean, it's
those 5-star hearts.
Some guys, some guys do improve, get coached up. Some guys get missed and fall through the cracks. Mike Griffith, your thoughts on, does that change your view of recruiting rankings in either way? Do you believe they're accurate? Do you not believe they're accurate? What do you think?
No, it's still largely a scam, and a lot of times these ratings are jacked up once a kid commits to an Alabama or a Clemson or a Florida State. Oh, this 3-star just became a 4-star, or the guy that was a 4-star in Arizona that commits to a middling school drops his star. So the star rankings are very fluid. They change throughout the process, and also, to be fair to those that are doing the rankings, they're evaluating on where they are right now, and I'll give you a great example of that. I just went and talked to Eric Crosby, who when he was evaluated was a 275-pound defensive tackle. Now he is 6'2" and 330 pounds. He is a much better prospect than he was before last football season started. Same thing goes with Matthew Butler in North Carolina. So to be fair to those trying to do the evaluations, they can only evaluate what they see in front of them, and things can change a great deal when a young man is going from 17 to 19 years old.
So to be fair to the scammers.
Scam's a bit harsh, I think.
Well, if you'll notice, it's the same schools that are ranked at the highest, and they have the largest fan bases over and over and over.
Here's what I think, just my opinion. I think when you're talking about the early rankings, I think it does depend on where you make your announcement. I think it's fascinating that ESPN had Drew Richmond #1 all last year, and Rivals didn't even have him as the best player in the state of Tennessee. Then all of a sudden, I think this is where it changes.
Trey Smith.
Trey Smith, I'm sorry. The closer you get to signing day, though, I think everybody tries to get their numbers into a proper zone because they know people are going to go back and judge. I know their scout guys were on Twitter pushing, look how good Scout was with our recruiting rankings this year. So I think initially, if you go to the rivals camp, you're going to get an early star. If you don't do this, if you don't give an interview to scout, you're going to lose a star. But I think at the end, which is what they're looking at, the final rankings, I think they try to get it right. I think they slide guys where they really think they are. So the announcement, I think that's scammy. I do think that's scammy. But I don't think grades overall. If they are, they're awfully accurate for a scam.
Well, I mean, if you're evaluating the Alabama players and saying they're pretty good, Alabama's going to get a lot of guys drafted pretty high. They're going to go to successful programs. It's going to increase the likelihood they're going to go higher in the draft.
I get that, but that's not true of everyone out there.
Not everyone, no, but
You can't just say, well, Alabama gets all the 4s and 5
I
stars,
do
and Mississippi
think
State
there
gets
is
none.
proof, though, that when
Okay.
players commit to these highest ranked schools like Alabama, the people say, oh, wow, Nick Saban likes this guy. He must be pretty good. Same thing happens in basketball with Kentucky and North Carolina.
I get it, but you would think then that there would be nothing but 4s and 5s on Alabama's roster. If it's just give everybody a point because they signed with Alabama, it should be 25 5-stars every year. And you've still got
They
some
usually have
3s
4 or
on there.
5,
But
which is pretty
4 or
ridiculous.
5, but not 25. You've still got some 3s out there. So I see where you're going. I don't disagree wholeheartedly. I just think you may be drawing it to an extreme with the scam word. But that's just me. I don't have my own draft service, so
I
no
would
skin
say
off my
that
back.
the top 30 typically of the recruits, the way they're evaluated, often you're going to find a higher percentage that hits than the top 30 of the NFL draft. And that's after seeing guys play at the college level more physically advanced.
When we come back, which states produce the most pro talent? Where's Tennessee on that list? We're behind in time, so we're going to rush through it. See you on the other side of this here break. Come on back.